What is up, everyone? A very special episode of Records and Rants. My name is Ice. Today we're talking about the Dave Matthews Band and some of the best songs from the 90s, what I think are the top 5. And we had none other than Dixon listen to them. And Dixon, how are you?
Quite the introduction. I love it. Yeah, this is our first episode in our new series we launched a few weeks ago, which is the top 5. We take top 5 of something. Artist, band, songs, whatever. So it sounds like you chose your favorite or your top 5 songs from the 90s era of Dave Matthews Band, correct?
Yes, I did. And
okay.
There's a reason that I did that, because if anyone's a fan of Dave Matthews Band, you know that there's a lot of songs. And then some of them are live recorded, but they didn't release them until like 5 years later. And then you have the Lily White sessions, which we're going to get into, because I have some picked from there, which are technically released officially on Busted Stuff, which is from 2002, which is really recorded back pre-2000. So we'll get into that. But I had I had to restrict it, because as I was going through all the albums, and I'm like, okay, cut it down. We're just going to do studio. I'm like, okay. But then I'm like, there are hundreds of songs. I could not pick my top 5. I think that would be a near impossible task if I had to go through every single, even just studio album, and just pick a top 5. I don't know if I could do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm like pre-2000s. This is classic Dave Matthews. This is 90s Dave Matthews. I really feel like it hits the essence of what the band is. That's just my opinion. So I don't know, Dixie, you want to go through the list of like what we got here, or maybe okay, you know what? Maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I'm really excited. This is the first time I've ever gone to suggest something that I enjoy. I've listened to Beatles. I've listened to what I can't even think right now. What's the name of the band that you like? The Pet Boys, Pet Sounds.
This is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. You just went right into it. We didn't even get a chance to go to our comment of the week. I know.
I'm sorry. You know what? Okay, that's all right. Okay, guys, that's a preview for what's coming. I'm sorry, Dixon. I'm stepping on toes right now.
Ice, that was hilarious. I'm like, oh my goodness, you really took this seriously. I really appreciate that. This is exciting. So,
I apologize. Go. Apologize.
No, apologize. I love your passion. Love it. Love everything about it. So yeah. Let's before we get into all that. Let's go to our comment of the week with Ice and Dixon.
For God's sakes.
Yes. So this is from last week's show where we broke down Woman's World by Katy Perry.
Yeah.
But by the way, did you hear they offered the song to Kamala Harris's presidential campaign and they said no thanks?
Yeah.
Did you happen to hear that?
I did, and I that got me kind of thinking, Dixon. I'm like, was that her ploy this whole time? Did she think that it was going to be like a big feminist kind of thing? And she's like, oh, Kamala will love this. Like, we're going to give it to her. I don't know. I was just thinking that, but we were probably both thinking that in the back of our heads when we were recording that, but we didn't say it, but we were both thinking
right.
It. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. And so I'll tell you what, the comments, I really was impressed by the comments, really fair and balanced comments.
Yeah.
And you had a few sides represented. So peaceful _chaos 14. It's a bop. Your opinion is your opinion. Stop looking for internet clout by riding on a hate train. Do better. And I'll tell you what, this poor person really got an earful. Pikachu-QR4YB. It's not a bop. It's a cash grab song and a watered down stupid love. This actually might be multiple comments. I actually wanted to read this thread. It's pretty good.
I love it.
Peaceful Chaos said, stupid love with its fart noises wishes to be as dynamic as Woman's World Productions. BFR.
That's so good.
So somebody commented then. The further comment was under Peaceful Chaos was me when I'm deaf, and put a colon next to it as if that were his take on it.
Wow. Me when I'm deaf. Wow.
And then I think the piece really kind of hammers it home. in response to the Peaceful Chaos 14 comment. It was written by 6 men, all caps men, one of which have allegations about him. The irony of a woman empowerment song being written by all men. So there you go. That really kind of sums it up. But I'll tell you what, it was pretty good. Oh, you know what? Let's. I want to read this comment too. I hate to read some of these, but let's
hear it. This is good. We need to hear this. Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty good. So this is from Bethany Evans 19. Remember we talked about, we said, if you're a Swiftie, if you're a Katy Perry fan, maybe like demand more from the artist that you're supporting. As a Swiftie, I am completely satisfied. I'd say her sold out shows and billionaire status prove that she was right to give her capital her fans what they wanted. Charlie XCX and Chappelle Roan are doing the same. They are not doing broad pop songs designed as a big net like Katy just did and missed big time. So I think the commentary there is that she's happy to be part of this industrial machine that Taylor Swift has created, and that she's happy that Taylor Swift is a billionaire, and she's fine with it. So good for her.
Yeah, good for her, I guess. But yeah, overall, Dixon, I think you hit the nail on the head. There was a nice, it was a nice set of comments to read, because I read through some before too, and it was they were entertaining. There was some, I think the majority of them hit the nail on the head and kind of understood what we were saying, though. I feel. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So that was our comments of the week with Isaac Dixon. So you have a long road ahead. So everybody buckle in. But
God bless. Little BTS. I texted Dixon. I'm like, I want to apologize immediately for what I'm going to send you.
Oh my God. No, I'll tell you what. I listened to all these songs. I was surprised that I knew most of these. I had heard these before. Yes, I heard these before, and I was also shocked, and we'll talk about this, that he is the sole credited writer on all of these songs. Mm-hmm. And also, it seems like these lyrics really have some sort of underlying storytelling happening. But it may not be evident in how they're presented, but if you read them on their own, you're thinking, boy, there's really something going on here. Instead of this kind of like goofy, like with fucking violins and horns and whatever the hell it is. I don't know. I'll tell you what. I did enjoy it.
Okay.
I did. So anyway,
I'm glad. Now, in case anyone doesn't know, I absolutely love Dave Matthews Band, and It's kind of been a slight hiatus. I listen to them here and there, but I used to listen to them religiously. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe a lot of DMB people go through this. They'll listen to them religiously, and then they kind of go back. And you go back and forth, I feel like, sometimes. Right. Sometimes it's a certain mood I have to be in. Regardless, though, probably one of, if not my favorite band. And I'll just say this, Dixon. Mm-hmm. I totally understand why people don't like Dave Matthews Band. They're very different. I could understand how Dave's voice is annoying to some people. I get that. I even agree with that to some aspect in some of his songs. I totally get it. But you can't deny that they are a unique band. They're
sure,
especially for the mainstream, because they're very popular, and I feel like
they are.
They're definitely different. They have many talented musicians. Carter Beauford on the drums, honestly probably one of the most underrated drummers, I would say. I know a lot of people respect him. A lot of people in the drumming industry really, really respect him. There's really no one that plays like him. It's I'm telling you, if you listen to the drums, mm-hmm. the way he does, and I don't even know the technical terms for it, but the fills with the cymbals and how he does like little offbeats and these syncopations. I'm just talking on my ass right now, putting these terms out. But
I'm with you.
You
understand.
Understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I never really hear him like mentioned in reality. I hear a lot about negative talk about Dave Matthews and how he plays guitar. He has everything really like keyed up pretty high, and he kind of he plays on the upper end or the lower end, and it's right on his chest.
Yeah. So there's actually a pretty famous video on YouTube that just came out. I think it was a year ago, and it was titled "Why Guitarists Hate Dave Matthews." And
okay.
But it goes into it. And again, I totally agree with this. And this is kind of what brought me to it, because I was learning guitar at the time. And this is what kind of cued me into Dave Matthews. Because as I was playing guitar, I'm like, I'll learn that song, Ants Marching, right?
Oh yeah,
we all know ants. We all know ants marching. But then
yes, unfortunately, no,
yeah, right.
Just
Okay. but what I'm saying is that this guy in the video, he goes on and says, Dave Matthews, he obviously not the most technically skilled. I don't know if he could play any solos or anything like that, but the way that he plays is very difficult, and it is not standard at all. It's very strange stretches and not even like chord progression. If you play guitar, and you try to learn some of these songs, you totally understand what I'm talking about. But that's what this guy said in the video, and he's saying like it's just he plays in a very unique way. Not that he's bad, but it's unique and interesting. And for all these reasons, this is what got me into Dave Matthews.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a little long-winded story right there. But let's start talking about some of these songs, Dick. So now I gave you a list of 5, and like I said, I think pre-2000s. These I have so many ones that I love listening to out of this list. But these are the ones that I picked because and it's kind of interesting because I thought that these would be more of ones that you hadn't heard. Like, okay, for the first one, for instance, Dancing Nancies, I thought that was like a kind of like a deep cut, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Okay. Do you remember where you heard this one from?
Probably when I was with you at some point. Many years ago. But now, let me say this. Now, I don't mean this in a negative way. Maybe I just thought I heard this, and because they all kind of that pre-2000s, I should say, right? That's pre-2000s.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Has kind of like a similar sound.
Yes.
In reality, and I know there's different things, but I'll tell you what, I liked it. I liked this Dancing Nancies, and it's like I said, there's looks like there's a lot happening here on these lyrics. 23 and so tired of life. Falling out of a world of lies. Could I have been a dancing Nancy? Could I have been anyone other than me? What is a dancing Nancy? What does that mean to you?
I don't even know. As I was looking through the lyrics, like reminding myself of these songs and listening back to them, I'm like, what is it? And I have no idea. See, this is the thing with Dave Matthews. He'll just throw that in there. And he kind of jokes in interviews. He's like, I don't even know what my songs mean. That's what he'll say. But he's obviously joking.
Right.
So like that little phrase right there, Dancing Nancies, you might not. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. But the overall message of the song, I think, is portrayed and spoken of. I think very. It's kind of hard to even put a word to it. I think the way that Dave Matthews writes lyrics, I think is interesting. It's never really
I think so too.
It's kind of not really telling you outright what's happening, but it's kind of telling a story, and it's kind of like going some kind of like, I don't know, kind of philosophical place maybe, and you kind of have to interpret
I think so too.
But so the overall theme of the song is, I think, you're questioning who you are. Why did you become this person? Could you really have been anyone else? Like, what if something happened? The little thing could have changed. And I for that reason, that's why I think the song is interesting to me.
Now, I want to point out one lyric here before, but I don't know if we, if the order you sent them to me in, are they like ranked like 1 to 5?
No.
Okay, gotcha. Random order, but these are just the top 5. But I love this line, and there's just like no context to it. Requesting some enlightenment. I love that line. That's so good.
Yeah,
requesting enlightenment. You know what I mean? Like, that's such a good, simple line.
Yeah, it's I like that. But then he'll do these things that he's like starting a thought, but then it just doesn't end. And so he says right here, look up at the sky, my mouth open wide, lick and taste. And then that's the end of that stanza. Like, what does that mean? But like, it's I just find that interesting. I don't know. There's no one who really writes like that though.
That is really interesting. That's interesting. And when you have good writers that use filler, it makes you like feel better. Yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about, I was listening to, your other favorite, Bob Dylan. And it was, he put a burner on the stove and offered me a pipe, but he says it as pipe because then the next lyric is silent type.
Well,
it's not necessarily filler, but it's just like I'm twisting this word to make it fit what I'm fitting right here at this moment.
Yes, exactly. And I love that. I love that little thing.
Yeah, that's cool. I enjoyed this. I'll tell you what, I enjoyed this song. I really did.
Yeah, no, I thought this was a good one. And just one more quick thing about this song. Another reason that I like it. First of all, again, the way that Dave plays that riff there, it's like like it's a weird way to structure a chord, like a phrasing of a chord. It's very it's strange. You probably wouldn't see that anywhere else in mainstream kind of music. And I also like the way that it goes from a kind of like depressing tone musically, and then once you hit the chorus, he starts talking about dark clouds may hang on me sometimes. I work it out. I look up at the sky, and then it goes into like a more happy tone. Yeah. And I think a lot of Dave Matthews Band songs do that, and I think that keeps it interesting. It keeps you kind of guessing, I guess, like instinctively your ear is thinking one thing's going to happen. You think it's going to keep going as like a darker tone, but then it switches during the chorus and it goes into like a major key. And I like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. I like that too. It kind of comes full circle.
Yeah.
Shoot, I was going to say something really good. I'm surprised at how that Dave Matthews almost exclusively plays acoustic guitar when everything else is like this, especially when you get to the chorus, is kind of this pent up production with everything else happening. And it's almost like until you hear those chords stand out, you might have the potential to possibly get lost if you really weren't focused on it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think sometimes it's another thing weird too. Like when you have them playing, I mean, like in this era, you had the violin, you had the saxophone, you had and Dave on guitar, Stefan on bass, and then you had the drums. So, but the way I think the way that they all brought it together, this is kind of like, I guess, a smaller sound, I guess you could say, but the way that they structured everything, I think, like you said, when it wells up into that, kind of happier chorus, I understand what you're saying. Like Dave's guitar gets lost in the shuffle, and I think I kind of like that though. It's like, it's like other instruments are getting a chance to shine in the song, and it all comes together and it all works out.
Right. No, I got you. That makes that. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So, what was the the next one? So we're stepping away from Under the Table and Dreaming, and we're going into Crash, which is probably, a lot of people might not like this, but it's probably one of my favorite.
Wow.
Dave Matthews Band. It probably is my favorite Dave Matthews Band album.
I feel that's big from a Dave Matthews Band fan.
Yeah.
I feel like that's huge because everybody had that album Crash, if you were a Dave Matthews fan or not.
Oh yeah.
Everybody listened to Crash.
I love
from the beginning to end.
Yeah, absolutely love that album.
Wow. So this is one. I mean, I feel like you and I have a personal history with this song.
Yes, that's why I picked it. It's also one of my favorite songs too.
I love this song. I loved it from the minute I heard it. And this is actually, now I'm not going to say I'm a Dave Matthews Band scholar, but I will never stray away from Dave Matthews. And I think this is the song that really kind of piqued my interest and may say like, hey, this is pretty good. I could listen to this over and over again. Mm-hmm. Line Our Graves, right?
Yes. So, and I think the line that we like the most is, I can't believe that we would lie in our graves wondering if we had spent I'm sorry. I can't believe we would lie in our graves dreaming of things we might have been, could have been.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Could have been. Wow. That's really something else. So is this like a dreamlike state because you have this thing? He's by the water. He's stepping into the light. He's doing all these things. Is it a love song?
I don't know. This one's kind of another one for me too, where it's kind of like you kind of have to interpret it, and I think he's almost like lost in thought and saying that kind of like, I kind of look at it like in a broad sense of like don't waste your life, and don't have any regrets, essentially, and don't think of what you could have been. Just be, essentially.
Wow, that's pretty good. Boy, what an interesting thought. Just be. We forget about that often, don't we?
Yeah. And he actually says that. Would you not like to be? And then he says, I can't believe that you would not like to be. That's the line. That's the end right there.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, that's good writing. And I really, really like. I can't count the number of times that you and I sang this. In particular, the ending part where he's lying in our graves and things like that.
I know.
And it was so poignant at that moment because you and I are going through a lot of change, evolution. At the time that this song came on my radar, probably 10 years or 13 years after Crash was released, and just kind of in that moment, it was like maybe like a desperation of like, oh, are you really going to do this? Are you going to lie in our graves and think about this? But in reality, like it make you feel kind of good about it, the way the song sounds. Yeah, that's kind of been my experience with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the interesting part about this song too. I like it musically, and it's kind of asking like a more. It's kind of like hitting on like a darker thing, like, well, you're dead, and like you'll have these regrets. So why would you do that? But it's happy throughout the entire song, like musically, tonally, yeah,
for sure. No, yeah, definitely, totally, yeah. I mean, I tell you what, this is probably my favorite Dave Matthews song.
Wow,
of all the Dave Matthews songs that you've exposed me to.
Let's say I forced upon you. We can say that I forced these upon you.
You've seen Dave Matthews live a few times?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious. I don't think I have.
You have to enjoy it. It's one of those things where, because again, people listening to this will know if you like Dave Matthews, and especially if you like him live, they'll do a lot of like fake outs, and it's like, and then it's like, and people get kind of crazy about it. They'll know all the set lists. They'll be like, oh, well, this one hasn't been played since August of 2008, and he hasn't played it since. And then it plays like, oh my God, he hasn't played this since Red Rocks 2002. So
I'm surprised it didn't make this list. Sledgehammer.
Oh, yeah.
Dave Matthews cover of Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
You haven't played that at the bar we go to in a long time.
I know. See, that's what I'm saying. I kind of fall in and out of listening to it now. Yeah, I had like a good 2 years where I listened to him constantly. Sledgehammer's a good one though, but that has never been recorded on a studio album.
Just studio. God,
yes.
Yeah, well, of course. How silly of me.
How do I know this? that was recorded on Live Tracks Volume 56. I can't really remember what it was, but
no, good one. This is a good one. I really like this one.
Yeah. And then going into staying with Crash, actually, we have Tripping Billies, which is probably one of my it's probably one of my favorite live songs. And the reason that I like this one, I think it's just kind of like another upbeat one, and it kind of just reminds me of like partying and then just having someone to join you. And I think in this song it kind of harkens to Dave partying somewhere, and he sees some girl and he's like, oh, why don't you just come with us? And like, well why wouldn't you want to party tonight? Like, let's do this, kind of just carefree. Again, kind of harkening back to don't lie in our graves, like don't have any regrets, just do. I think Dave has a lot of like just live free and just have fun, pretty much.
Yeah, I could see that, because that's the thing is, I remember, because the line for "Tomorrow Will Die" it totally doesn't sound anything like that sentiment. I don't think. Right. What I don't get is the beginning was, dragons were smokes, bumblebees were stinging us. I was soon to be crazy. What the frig?
You see this?
And then it gets into this great thing.
I know.
It will start with we were not yet lovers. Okay, yeah, I'm into this. Oh, dragons were smokes. Yeah. Okay, well, right.
Wow. Okay, where we go with this?
Right. I mean, this is obviously it has to be some sort of philosophical thing, but I mean, it's almost like a little too deep. It's like I remember I used to write this girl I liked poems, and they were like so. Like inside baseball. And then it's like, she's like, oh, these are so good. And I'm like, and I remember I found one when I was cleaning out like a closet or something a few years ago. And I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever read in my entire life. Like, how can anybody understand this? And I feel like that's like, he's kind of like playing the inside baseball and just kind of works all together. Cause then there is this great philosophical message that's coming after it.
Yes. Yeah. There is. And you're right. At the beginning, it kind of starts, it kind of starts as like, why would you care to get out of this place? You, me, and all our friends, we're all so happy, and blah blah blah. We're all partying, we're all sitting around a fire. But then you're right, it does get into like a more philosophical thing where he says, tomorrow we'll die, so just eat, drink, and be merry. So,
for sure,
yeah. So I think that harkens back to living your life. And then I gotta say, the violin solo in this, of course, in all of the live versions it's fantastic.
Yeah, I can imagine that for sure. What is tripping Billies? What does that mean? Is that like a thing? Is that like a code word for drugs or something?
Yeah, see, that's another thing I don't.
We don't know. Okay, I'll stop. I'll forget. I'm just asking.
No. I'm sorry. No, I'm frustrated with myself because I don't know, but also there probably there's probably never been like even a real explanation for it. And I was looking up a lot of discussions around a lot of these lyrics as I was going through them for this list, and it's just honestly a lot of people just giving their ideas of what the song means, and then no one ever really hits on like, oh well, what is a tripping Billy, or like what is a dancing Nancy? What does that even mean? A lot of people, I think they just kind of like gave up because Dave doesn't ever explain, and like you said, he just says weird things like dragons were smoked. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, no, and again, I like this song just for the lyrics, and then obviously the violin solo as well.
That's classic.
Yeah, no, it's definitely classic.
Now, he died. The violinist died, right?
No, that was the saxophonist actually.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the violinist Boyd Tinsley.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a bad allegation. He had a mentor, and I can't remember if he was. I think it was a younger mentor, and there was some let's just say estual relations between them, and then so they kicked him out of the band.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really enjoy Boyd's violin playing, but I can't say I support him with that with that issue. But
gotcha.
Yeah. So but yeah, and either way, Boyd Tinsley's violin solo in this is fantastic. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm with you. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So, and what's the next one? Oh, okay. So here's where we're getting into
there's a lot to be said about this from you, I believe.
So, okay, these last two songs here. So these come. It's JTR and Bartender, and both of these were recorded on the Lily White sessions. Now, the Lily White sessions are. It's a collection of songs that was supposed to be an album that was produced in 1999, but for some reason, the label said, "This you're gonna love this." The label said, "You have to dump." And they took like years to write this, and then the label's like, "Get rid of this. We don't want this. You have to go and record." You have to go work with this producer, Glenn Ballard, and you have to record every day. And they wrote every day in 10 days and released it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know it is kind of sickening. And I'm not going to, I think there's some good songs on every day. Let's just, I know a lot of DMB fans are probably going to not like me for that, but I do like some songs on there, but it is a tragedy that Lily White Sessions would cancel. You had Gray Street on there. You had this. You had JTR. You had Grace Is Gone. Fantastic song. Bartender. Kit Kat Jam. That's a cool song as well. I mean, that album was fantastic. It was later recorded as Busted Stuff in 2002, which is where these songs actually come from officially. But
gotcha. Okay.
I kept them in here for pre-2000s because technically they were.
They were okay. They were there. They exist. They just hadn't seen the light of day. Okay, yeah, correct. That's fair. I'm with you. Yeah, gotcha.
So anyway, JTR, what did you think about it?
All right, so JTR, let me. So, oh yeah, okay. I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
not my favorite one of the list that you sent me. Not one of my favorite. I don't think DMB songs, but I thought it was okay.
Okay,
and I thought the lyrics were. a little bit more like basic, but also loaded. Like I don't know, like it's like hard to like a little bit too abstract for me.
Yeah, I totally get that. It is very
Yeah,
abstract, and it's kind of even hard making sense of it because it doesn't really make
right.
any sense. And JTR stands for John the Revelator, whatever.
Mm,
So
that would have been nice to know before this. Okay,
yeah,
no, okay, I can see this. It's kind of a bit. There's some biblical undertones throughout that whole thing. That I guess I get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And well, here's actually interesting.
Mhm.
Now this song was actually written by Dave Matthews and Carlos Santana. I don't know if you knew this.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, why is he not? What did Carlos did the music? Because it only says David John Matthews on the thing.
yeah, no, I don't know. It said on the Wikipedia that he got help from Carlos Santana.
Okay, gotcha.
But apparently, John the Revelator, it was a love song about someone calling out someone that they couldn't have.
Okay, I got you.
I don't know if I really got, like, just listening to it. I don't know if I really got that from there, but from the
Right.
lyrics. But it's, I don't know. The reason that I like this song is this is actually played on a 12-string guitar, and it's
Oh, okay.
another interesting kind of lick that they play. And this is actually the very first song by Dave Matthews Band I've ever heard.
Really
And-
interesting.
And little kind of funny story behind that. Do you remember LimeWire?
Of course, yeah.
So I was just going through, I was trying to just add music to my iPod that I had at the time.
Okay.
And as I was doing this, the Lily White sessions got leaked and
Wow.
were released to LimeWire.
No kidding. Wow, that's huge.
So if at this time, Dave Matthews Band fans at the time were going absolutely nuts. They're like, "Oh my God, here it
Yeah.
is. Here's the Lily White sessions that we got stolen from us, essentially."
Right.
And-
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that was the top hit if you search Dave Matthews Band on LimeWire. And I'm like, oh, okay, Lily White sessions. This must be a good. I've heard of Dave Matthews Band before. I've never heard any songs, so I downloaded it.
Right.
And I listened to JTR, and that was pretty much when I like fell in love with everything.
Interesting.
It was so different, and the 12-string was so cool, and again the way that they played, and it just
Sure.
I love So
I'm pretty disappointed that Dave Matthews didn't have a fit about this demand from the record company. In reality,
I know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It is pretty interesting. I mean, I guess I'm not really sure how they were able to turn around and say, well, we're going to make this album called Busted Stuff, and we're pretty much just releasing everything that we recorded on the Lily White sessions. So I'm not entirely sure how that happened.
Now, when you say the Lily White sessions, would the album be called Lily White, or was the album like were these the sessions surrounding Lily White, or was it like the Lily White sessions was going to be the album name?
Okay, so every picture that you see of the Lily White session, it's fan made. So that album cover is fan made, and I think it was. I could be completely wrong here, but I believe that it was given that name by fans simply because it was produced by this guy called Steve Lillywhite.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Production. Okay, I got it. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now that you're saying things like the things you're telling me about this John the Revelator and the love song, I could kind of see where this was going. At the moment, I was just so obtuse I couldn't get the idea of it. But I can see where some of these lyrics are leading you down that path. But just one of those things. Like if I'm listening to it at surface value, I just didn't appeal to me all that much.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I totally get it. And I think one of the reasons that I was so attached to the band at first is just because it was just unique, and I knew that they were in the mainstream, but I was like, oh wow, I've never. Again, my music library is pretty small. I could totally admit that, but this was something that it was just something I've never heard before, and I think that's why I liked it so much.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, again, the main reason for this song, I think, is just because of the 12-string and how Dave plays it. I think it's very unique. I think it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
You don't really hear 12-string used a lot again in popular songs like this. So that's the reason why it's one of my favorites.
I can see that. No, I get what you're saying. I'm with you on this. Mm-hmm.
Now,
okay,
we'll go to the last one now.
okay.
I'm sorry I'm being long-winded too, Dixon.
No, I appreciate this because we need this insight. I'm serious. I'm not. This is good.
No,
this
no,
is
you're
good stuff. This is yeah.
So we go to Bartender, and
Yeah.
this was kind of a more serious song. I guess within the whole thing, I didn't realize I kind of just picked all kind of happy songs. But I really like this song because I feel like lyrically, out of all of these, I think personally it's one of the most impactful.
I agree with you 100%. I thought the same exact thing when I listened to it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad, and I'm like I thought that I'm like I think lyrically, Dixon would like this the most, and I thought that too because the lyrics really stand out because it's kind of just Carter on the drums. It's kind of like a marching kind of beat, just going forward, and there's not really too much music going on. You have the I think the saxophone in the background is like dun 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 dun,
yeah,
and that's pretty much the whole thing until you get into the chorus. But it just keeps that driving kind of beat, and again, lyrically, I thought it was really cool. Did you have any idea what you thought of this one? Did you enjoy this one?
I did. I enjoyed it. Yes, like I agree with you 100% as far as the lyrics go. I think out of all of them you sent me, this is the best one lyrically, I think too. And the biblical kind of thing happening here. You're talking about Judas and Jesus and everything, anything else. There's this whole thing too with like his mother and like family and like and there's this talk of gold. Like at first I was taking it literally as if like the bartender is granting you the elixir you need, that the bartender in this moment in your life you need is your godlike figure because he's getting you through this moment, whatever it might be, and you're begging, praying for the bartender to get you something, whatever it is, right?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's a lot of, so in the interpretations, a lot of people see the bartender as like a stand-in for God, essentially. Yeah. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I just want to, a lot of people agree with you on that. Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad and I think that's cool because I think the imagery. I think that with no context at all, I'm assuming this guy had like a really bad day, or is like going through a really bad thing, and okay, I just need this. I need this wine, whatever it is, and this wine's going to save my life, or maybe it's like a shot of whiskey or something. Literally, it could be this, or it could be something metaphorically, right?
Yes.
And when you have that bartender figure that's going to grant you this, it's going to set my soul free, and maybe I'm going to see my deceased relatives again, maybe I'm going to I don't have much time left, or maybe I don't want to have much time left. And maybe you're so skewed too that you're thinking, okay, this is the meaning of life right here in this glass, whatever it is. You're taking these things literally.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool too. Cause like that, and that's kind of what I got from it too. And then again, I looked into what some people said about it, and a lot of people interpret it as one group says what you said, which I'm on that side too. But then this is something I didn't know. Apparently Dave was like in a darker place when he was recording all these songs and writing all of them. And a lot of people say this has alliterations to the death of his father and his sister, who was actually murdered. It's a pretty sad story. Ooh. It was through domestic violence. It was back in 1994.
Yikes.
Yeah. So they say that this is like kind of a darker song because of that. Like it might not be. Maybe there's little hints to that in there, but I like to think of it like you said. That's the way that I like it. But I think the way that Dave delivers the lyrics in here, again, you could love or hate his voice, but I think this is a more passionate version. He's really belting some of these things out here, especially at the end when he does that, his like yodeling or whatever. But I love that. And this is one of those songs where you hear it live, and then at the end it's just this like big jam, and then Dave is just going crazy, and it's very emotional, very very welling up inside you, big build up to the end, and you start all jamming out, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's pretty cool. I think this was I love Lion Our Graves, but I think this was my favorite one that I actually hadn't heard this one. This is my favorite one that I hadn't heard.
Okay, good. I was trying to hit one. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. I was trying to pick some ones that you hadn't heard. I could. I never mind. I don't want to torture you because I could go through some. I could pick top 5. We could, months down the road, we come back to Dave Matthews Band again for a top 5. I could go to like top 5 Dave Matthews deep cuts, and
wow. I'll tell you
really,
what, that's one of these. Yeah,
really get weird with it, but yeah.
It seems like one of these bands that's like kind of like a Grateful Dead-esque, that you have tapes and you have shows and you have set lists and you track and everything else. In reality, though, Dave Matthews Band, I feel like they're kind of quiet in reality. I mean, they have their fans and they just kind of do their thing, and that's basically pretty much it, I think.
Yeah, they are, and that's another reason why I like it. I mean, you have Dave out there. He does, he's very earth conscious and like global warming and all this stuff, and he does like the farming and all that stuff, and he's been like that forever. One of the songs that I wanted to pick, called One Sweet World, it's written in 1994, and he just talks about how much he loves the earth. He's been like this forever.
Okay, gotcha.
So I guess he uses his voice for what he can, but everyone else in the band, and Dave for the most part too, they're very private. You don't really know anything about their lives. They're not really constantly out there saying what you should do or what you should think, or like flaunting their riches or whatever. They're kind of private, which again I enjoy.
Yeah, that's kind of a nice thing. I know he does some political fundraising and that kind of thing, but I never recall like Dave Matthews like being in your face about stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
nicely well crafted list. I think that was. As someone who is a novice, but somebody who's familiar with music, I think it was a pretty cool assortment. And I liked, because when I think of Dave Matthews, I think of this pre-2000s era that you're talking about.
Right.
I think about Crash and all these other kind of albums. And I think that's, to me, is, without knowing anything about the band, I'm like, oh, wow, this is really like prime Dave Matthews without knowing anything else. I think it's just cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I agree with you. And I think you can almost break it down into eras, maybe with like different sounds. I think once you get into 2008 that's when they bring Tim Reynolds into the band, and he plays electric guitar. Okay. So you get more of a, I always say mainstream, but it is kind of more of a mainstream feel. It's like, okay, well now we have like rock aspects to the whole thing. I mean, it's still Dave Matthews, but it's not like you're probably not going to get a song like Dancing Nancies ever again. I would say. I mean, that's just me, but people might agree or disagree with that. You could go on to the 2008 plus era. But yeah, I do really enjoy this era. This is the DMB that I fell in love with, and I'm really glad that you enjoyed it too, Dixon.
I am. I enjoyed it. I realized that Tim Reynolds was in the band officially. That's interesting.
Yes, he didn't.
I know they had collaborated, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. They started out there's an album called Dave and Tim. It's at some college. Wow, I can't believe I don't remember this. Here it is, live at Luther College, and I can't remember when this was recorded. Let me check really quick. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. This was in '96, so Dave Matthews Band was kind of out. But I think this is the first Dave and Tim album, because they just play acoustic together.
I remember that. Yeah, okay, I got you.
And I mean, I think that's probably one of my favorite albums too. But yeah, so Tim has been around. He just never was officially into the band until the later years.
Gotcha. Well, there you go. Interesting. Yeah. You learn something new every day about these guys.
Oh yeah.
So this is our first sort of episode in this idea that we kind of shared, is like, all right, like, sharing our top 5 favorite things.
Right.
And the thing is, we've been so busy as far as music news goes, we haven't got a chance to get into it. So I think hopefully this will be a thing going forward. But this is a great first entry. Really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Oh, wow.
And I'm glad you could bring something to the show that you're so passionate about, because I think, like I said, if you could be a Dave Matthews fan, but also be a realist, I think that a lot of artists, it would be a much better world as far as the personal interpretations and opinions of artists are, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. It was fun to be knowledgeable about about
Oh,
albums and
stop
bands.
it. You always have something to say.
Okay, Dixon, let me ask you this: if we do,
Okay.
are we gonna do it one of your top fives next week?
I don't know. Maybe we should. What if we do a joint top 5 and we just like talk briefly?
Oh wow, okay. That yeah, that
What
that
do you
that
what are
could
your
be
thoughts on that?
interesting. I don't. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would absolutely be down. I just didn't know if you had something in your mind lined up, and you
I
were.
don't. I don't know if I do necessarily. I have to think about this. I go through phases just like you.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm in a Drake phase.
Real. I did not
Listen
expect you to say that.
Listen to a lot of Drake, and I've listened to old Drake. I've been listening to like "Nothing Was the Same" and "Marvin's Room."
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
I've been playing. We've been playing a lot of golf, and I have a speaker in the golf cart, and I'll put on Marvin's Room or "Nothing Was the Same," and I'm like, all right, yeah, I get into a groove.
I love it.
So yeah,
I love
who would
it.
have thought? Yeah, I know you're right.
That's that's pretty good. I thought you were gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna give you top 5 of the national songs, and you.
Oh man, the National. I'll tell you what, I haven't listened to National in a minute.
Because I think you're out of that depressive episode, man.
I still love their music. I still love their albums.
I know.
Yeah, there's times I look back when I would listen to their albums. I'm like, oh wow, this is kind of deep for this moment in time, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
Well, successful first episode.
Yeah, no,
Thanks again for sharing.
That was a lot of fun. Absolutely.
So maybe we should encourage everybody out there listening. Comment your top 5 Dave Matthews songs, pre, post, 2000s, live, whatever it might be. I wonder what the comments will be like, because I think the DMB fans are secret lurkers in the comment sections on these kind of videos. So we'll see what happens.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I think once we post this with a nice title, I think a lot of DMB fans are going to filter in here. They're probably going to give their opinion, because I feel like one thing with Dave Matthews Band fans is you're going to find them willing to tell you their opinion on what is the best song or the best album.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they'll definitely.
I like it.
Definitely give their opinions. Oh, there's a lot to talk about there, but yeah,
there is.
But guys,
looking forward to it.
Guys, thanks for watching. Dixon, I'm sorry I rambled on. We're almost at an hour here, but it was a good time.
This is the video everybody needs that nobody knew they needed. This is it right here. Wow. Look no further.
That's right. That's right. But guys, it's been fun, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.